Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first broadcast of the OCE Championship. This is the play-in. This is what we've been looking for, and right now I'm joined by Yummy Cheeseman and of course Courier. This is it.
It's do or die, the last chance for these teams. It's a new qualifying format. They've gone through the open qualifiers, they've gone through the group stage, and now this is their last chance to get into league play.
And we've seen lots of new talent come from it as well. I think the new format has allowed lots of teams to go through in a different way, especially when you combine that with the shuffle. And now we're getting to see new talent emerging across the pool.
We've seen the top 5 teams, the 4 that came through the groups. And for those who don't know, if you came top 2 in each of your groups of 8, then you got through. And those 2 teams on each of them were the most experienced teams that we have. So these guys are all brand new. There's only one team that doesn't have at least one rookie on it.
And that team is quite far down in terms of where they ranked last season. This season they're having an absolute cracker though, going undefeated in their bracket.
I was talking about Chimpwits.
I was talking about Numona Ultra. They're
But they've
oldest roster.
They're all rookies on that team.
Oh, cool. I was talking about the most unchanged.
Well, we have transitioned from the regular OCE season, and now we've actually entered in the biggest OCE shuffle from recent memory. And it is very interesting because all these new talent and new teams, new strategies are evolving. And right now it's do or die for all these teams.
Yeah, that's the biggest shuffle. It's the biggest season, the biggest prize pool, and they're all trying to find the right team for them, the right players. And we've seen it. No team has escaped the shuffle. Every single roster has had at least one change coming from the Chiefs all the way down to the bottom teams. And Numona Ultra, the only team that hasn't really changed.
Yeah, you got like that trickle-down skillonomics where, you know, we now have Kami going on to Chiefs, and then because that means State of Mind's been dissolved, and then they get scattered into the old dark-sided roster, and everything just gets a little bit more interesting from this point because we haven't had enough time for the teams to cement themselves, so we don't know how the results are going to go, and they haven't had enough time to truly hit the potential upper limit that they have.
Absolutely right. And looking at each of these individual teams, for you guys, which teams are you specifically looking at? What do you like? What do you don't like about all this change?
Well, we talked about it. I think a team that sticks together and just grinds it out is usually one of the favorites. Numona Ultra, Microscopic Silicovolcaniconiosis is the full name. And they are the longest standing roster now after Chiefs formed, changed. And that's only been 6 months. They were in the qualifiers last season. They've stuck at the bubble for so long and been the kings of that bubble. Today is their last chance, really, to get out of that bubble and into the top 8.
And the team I'm more interested in looking at on the flip side is Chiefs, because every time we see them go through league play here at Throwdown, they just stomp their way through. But now that they've changed it, it's something interesting. We always had the expectation that they'd win, but despite the fact that Kami is phenomenal, it's different. We get to see a completely different Chiefs.
Yeah, and speaking today as well, we've got a lot of good teams. Justice Esports coming through, really high potential. Team Cryptic, they're formed from Love Decks last season, so they have a good chance as well. And I really have a lot of hope in Chimpwits with Delusion and Requiem on the team.
You say that with a smile on your face. And we'll have a quick look now at the bracket. So the bracket for today, and we'll have a look at the upper bracket itself right now.
Yep, 2 spots here up for grabs, 8 teams. And then if you lose in this upper bracket, you do get a second chance.
So that second bracket, though, when you go down into the lowers, only one team will be going through. So that is a coveted spot and a brutal battle to the finish.
And with 8 good teams, 8 teams that are really close together. The group stages were a really tight competition, with them going kind of circular in terms of losing X, Y to Z. It could be anyone's game today.
Yeah, Numona Ultra was the only team to walk away undefeated within that group stage, so that anyone is on the board.
Well, undefeated amongst the teams that are here today.
Yeah.
There was Order, who went through undefeated against everyone, the only team to truly go undefeated. Tainted Minds didn't go undefeated. They lost to downloadable content. For those who don't know, that's CJM Lim and Walcott, who was on Jam Gaming last season. So they're a real rising star of a team, and I'm excited to see how they go in league play.
And 3 of these teams, as we said before, are transitioning through. So that means that 5 of these teams knocked out. The odds don't exactly look the best, but kind of looking at the first matchup that we have today, right? So first of all, we have Justice Esports versus Cooking with Outlast. What do you kind of think about these individual teams up against each other?
For me, this is a really interesting one because both of them in recent history, so in the last tournament, they've both beaten a team that is a really key contender for going into league play, with downloadable content being beaten win by Outlast's team, Cooking with Outlast. On the flip side, Justice managed to take a match off Legacy. So they both have high potential, the fact they can take these games, but they also had some losses that are a little bit unexpected.
It's really interesting as well because they're both completely untested teams. Despite being together for a while now, like a month for each of them, Justice Esports are kind of three fantastic young players. All three of them, or two of them, are definitely 15 years old. They just became eligible to play. And they've got really big mechanics, but they go overboard. They go hyper aggressive. They take massive risks. And you see Cooking with Outlast, kind of the opposite. They're ones players, so they're not much risk taking, but they also don't have that teamwork. And so I think it is going to go down to raw firepower.
So raw firepower over the teamwork itself. You think that each of these individual players will come through. And speaking of individual players, see Rothy there. For me, he's one of those players who is a very big solo player. He's known for his ones individual skill. How do you think he'll fit into that Daisu Outlast combo?
Well, everyone on that team is a ones player, really. And to me, I have to look at Outlast as being that big factor. He's the one who is maybe the best mechanical player in OCE, but he's never been successful in threes. He doesn't have that team play. He hasn't practiced a lot of threes, but he has played a lot with Daisu. He was with Daisu in Season 3 League play, and they've finally reformed to try and get back in.
Yeah, and I think that's something that they're going to be able to leverage, because despite the fact that you did say that they were ones players, having some semblance of experience to kind of lean back into is something a lot of these teams don't have because they are so new. So at least having played with these guys, you have some habits of communication.
And speaking of Justice Esports and experience, Steve was there in Season 3 as well. He's got some experience. He was sub, he was too young, but he came in on a day where they couldn't field their roster. They were almost about to forfeit, so they brought in Steve. And they actually won with him. So he's got some experience. He knows how to play under pressure, and he'll be the big factor for them today.
Breaking this all down, who would you pick to win this matchup?
For me, I'm going to have to go with Outlast on this one, and I just think they're a little bit more consistent than the other team of Justice, who have like that. They got that game where they got absolutely destroyed by Cryptic. 0-3, 1 goal on the match. But on the flip side, you know, they can take down Legacy, so I don't know what to expect. I like consistency.
Yeah, he's hit the nail on the head there. Consistency is key. This is a complete coin flip because Justice are the kind of team that can beat Legacy Esports, but they're also the kind of team that could lose to somebody who didn't even qualify for today. So I'm gonna play my cards and say that Justice are gonna go through.
Okay, well, I personally am gonna go with Cooking with Outlast, and I think that we are heading straight into the first game of the play-in right now, and it's gonna be a big one.
It's the kickoff of the OCE Championship for 2018, Split 2. We've got two fantastic up-and-coming teams, both with high potential to make it, but they need to win this first match to give them the easy run.
And now we're going to be looking at that individual skill versus the sporadic nature of Justice Esports and kind of defining these individual teams. Although we've spoken about the playstyle itself, I think as we head into this game here, Yummy, between these two here, as we can see, the kickoff's already come straight out of the way and Rothy is taking control of the game here.
Start off. A lot of abilities up forward. Expect them to be challenging everything, putting as much touches on the ball as possible, and seeing if they can pressure Cooking with Outlast in defense.
Justice Esports trying to set up the pressure here, but Outlast gets a boomer of a clear. Yeezy actually whipping that one there. Justice Esports had a bit of time and room to breathe, and it seems as though they are in control here. Steve with a good push into his offensive half, and now he tries to go into the pass, but Outlast is there to intercept.
It's been good. Justice Esports are being put on the back foot, and that's where they're not good at. Cooking with Outlast gets a great touch from Outlast, but it's not quite through. There's still plenty of opportunity now for Cooking with Outlast.
And there right away, Cooking with Outlast seeing a little bit of the nerves at this very first match of the day, and now Outlast trying to push in nice and close. Rothy with a good push. But it seems as though Wiss is getting control of this ball. Justice Esports moving with the motion.
Yeah, we've really seen a lot of offensive pressure from Daisu and Outlast. It seems those are the two that they want to put forward. And Rothy's kind of hanging back, waiting for the play and letting his two big mechanical superstars try and get the goal.
He went straight for the demo and a little bit of a fake there, but pushed away now by Yeezy. Justice Esports really trying to make sure that they have full control of this ball. And Outlast going for those solo plays, which we were talking about before.
Big solo plays as well. Justice Esports cannot get it through, but it's Steve and Rothy holding forward. Whis, the youngster, the one who only just became eligible to play. He's backflipping, feeling a little bit nervous at the start of this game.
Whis now into the corner, pushing it away for his team, allowing them to rotate around and get boost. But good pass into Daesu. What a goal! The first goal of the OCE Championship play-ins.
That touch by Rothy was perfect. Straight into the center. It looked like he was going for the shot. He faked it out, and Steve could not get in the way to block that boomer.
We spoke of these players being great individual, but that right there is showing the connection that they have as a team.
It's a great teamwork coming out, and we know that Cooking with Outlast have had that ability to look together, to work on their play, and Outlast is starting to shine. He's not getting in the way like we used to see him in past seasons.
Well, this is the very first game, so both of them trying to sort out their individual play styles and see how they can counter it. Seems as though Cooking with Outlast now have all the pressure. Great pass to the center. Rothy is there. What a second goal.
We really see nerves coming through. Justice Esports getting out-experienced here. Daesu willing to go for that risky play, willing to take an interesting touch off that corner, and it just opens up the net for Rothy.
And you see the commitment from Rothy. He trusted his teammate. He was there, ready and waiting for that ball. Justice Esports not in the best of spots. They need to sort out the individual issues that they're having and commit to the play.
It's not just individual issues. I think apart from Steve, we're seeing both Whis and Yeatsy go really far back, looking like they don't want to put a touch on the play. Daesu, he just goes all the way. There was no one there. They panicked in defense on that backboard, and it is third goal for Cooking with Outlast.
Outlast and Daesu, they are running away with this game. What an individual play from Daesu. He is showcasing his skill, his commitment to this team and to this game.
That one felt too easy for Daesu as well. It was the standard chip and chase in the air, and normally you'd always expect somebody. There were 3 people on the ground, and somebody should be challenging that ball.
Justice Esports not looking too confident in the defense. Steve is trying to get there, and as I say that, Daesu, so aggressive, such good placement from that shot, straight into the goal, right over Steve.
Big pop-up from Outlast, and Daesu just very fast, and it's that 1-2 combo. Daesu seems to be the one finishing off these goals and really securing this 4-0 lead.
Well, now it is basically 2 minutes and 10 seconds left in this match, and it looks all about wrapped up from Cooking with Outlast, but an unfortunate whiff from Daesu. The defense was not there. Yeatsy gets the retribution goal.
I feel that was so important for Yeatsy as well. He was a little bit nervous earlier on. He played that confidently. He waited for the miss. He didn't back off, and that is the first goal. Now we just need to see Whis, I think, make a very similar play and gain that confidence for them to really take out the rest of the series.
Yeah, we've seen Yeatsy and his other teammate there in the play with Steve, and right now we're waiting on Whis to showcase his individual and teamwork skills.
I'm really used to seeing Justice Esports play incredibly fast, and today it's not quite been that pace. They are starting to build up these pass plays, which is how they secure their goals.
And now it looks as though Team RNG are getting dunked on by Outlast. What a close double touch from him. Just a little unfortunate whiff from him, but it seems as though with 1 minute and 30 seconds to go, they have it all but wrapped up.
It's so close right now to being the nail in the coffin. 30 more seconds, and we'll have to say that Cooking with Outlast definitely have taken it. But right now, it just feels like Cooking with Outlast, they're staying calm, they're staying collected, and they're able to play very well as a team, considering this is the younger of the 2 rosters.
And now we've seen game 1 all but wrapped up, and it seems as though that even though it is a best of 5, the better team usually wins. And so whether or not Justice Esports can actually commit and make sure that they get to those fast plays in order to beat them in the pacing.
Yeah, we're really not seeing the mechanics coming out from Justice Esports. They're normally fast in the air, and we're seeing Whis miss. We're seeing Steve go wide on the defense, and that is not what you expect from 3 of what would have to be the best mechanical players, even if not the best team players.
Yeah, we've definitely known Steve to be one of those individual players who can come across and carry the living daylights out of his team, but it seems as though he's just not there. Outlast with an unfortunate whiff, but with 30 seconds to go, I think they're saying that 4-1 up, they don't really have to score. A bit of a whiff there, and Whis has actually left the match. Whether or not there was a connection issue or different, it seems as though game 1 is all done and dusted.
We do know they're having some controller issues at the start of the match, and maybe Whis is looking to reset his controller, knowing that they've already lost. It is 4-1 down. They can't get the comeback now. And Cooking with Outlast take game 1 of the Rocket League OCE Championship play-ins.
They just absolutely kept the pressure on and on. They were relentless with it. They kept on shooting, kept on passing, and they were making sure that they could get those individual and team plays all sorted.
It has been a solid effort from Cooking with Outlast, and that is a team that the way that they're playing right now look like they should be in league play. And I think if you can beat Justice Esports, one of those top contenders, you've already automatically put yourself into the spot where you can say, well, we should make league play now. So that was game 1, a great test, and as we just get confirmation, Whis is just fixing his controller.
And the stats do not lie as well, 11 shots to 2. The pressure was all from Cooking with Outlast. They had control, they had the pressure. And historically, though, in a lot of those best of 5 series, we do see the game 1 go very differently to how the rest of the series actually plays out.
For sure. Game 1 is so testing, and this is the play-ins. Last week was the groups, and it's not necessarily do or die. You just need to come top 6 to stay in. Top 2 obviously gets you there, so there's some pressure to get to the top. But there's no quick elimination. Now you're in your last chance. That is when the heart's racing. That is when you can start overthinking things. And Justice Esports, I think they're best when they literally just focus on the ball and play as fast as they can. They can beat out the competition, and they can kind of take those big risks to beat big teams.
Well, they need to take big risks because, as we see, 4-1 is not the sort of a scoreline that you can say, oh, we feel very in it. But the safety net has been cut off from both of these teams, so whether those controller issues were very, very impactful into the actual team play, or whether it was just the absolute outplay from Cooking with Outlast.
Yeah, it might have been because Whis was the player staying back, but he is now in game 2 with a reset controller looking to take their team into league play.
Well, we've seen this team RNG versus the individual skill. Whether or not the RNG will work in their favor for this matchup, only time will tell us.
It is a very close matchup, and I think when we were talking about that, Justice Esports need to stop taking risks. That's their big one. They're up against Cooking with Outlast. They know they should be able to beat them as long as they don't make mistakes and get that first goal.
We see how fast Cooking with Outlast are going. Rothy, he goes up for the ball. Unfortunate whiff. Good pressure from Yeetzy. He actually read that really well in terms of the whiff. And now Daesu. This was just a little bit too far out of the play to be as aggressive as he needed to be. Daesu with an outplay, but it's not anywhere near the net.
Whis was fairly close to that attack, but they are usually much closer than that, and that's how they punish Cooking with Outlast. We'll see if Whis does manage to move forward later in this game.
And the good pressure from Justice Esports. We have seen this now. We did not see it last game. Cooking with Outlast is standing on the back foot, but whether or not they actually overcommit this play is yet to be seen. Whis with a great pressure from him. Look at that, a 2-for-1 challenge from him, but Outlast is waiting in the backlines.
Something that we see a lot from Cooking with Outlast is their ability to intercept. And for Justice Esports, that's putting them more on edge and reducing their chance to pass even more.
So they played very well last game. Whether or not they can keep their composure, keep the pace up. Good bump from Daesu. He's going for the demolition play, actually. And it seems to be working out, forcing them out of position. And Outlast is there, ready to receive that play.
Daesu to Outlast once again. And Rothy, actually, was the one pushing that forward. And Outlast, what a shot. Justice Esports not there in time. And they're putting them so much on the back foot.
Well, they're emphasizing all the strategies that a lot of the international teams use. So, you know, the demo plays to interrupt as well as the 3-player commitment in offense.
Well, a lot of these demo plays as well are coming out from the ones players on this pitch, and seems to be a solid strategy. Justice Esports now have the chance to counterattack. They've got it out of defense.
One player in defense. Now Daesu goes up for the ball. Steve with a good play in the back lines, ready and waiting. Can he get the pass? It goes straight over. Yeetzy is in a position to receive. No pressure from Cooking with Outlast, but he does not have the boost to keep going.
Just solid counter plays as well. The intercepts in the midfield in the air keep going to Cooking with Outlast. Every time it's up, there's no one from Justice Esports up, and if they are, they're going up late.
And I have to comment on it, Yummy. I really like the pressure plays as well as the positioning from Cooking with Outlast. They seem to be where they need to be for a lot of these offensive and defensive plays to going in their favor.
Right now, Justice Esports, they are on the attack. They have the chance to score a goal, but they just give up the ball, immediately sending it back to defense.
And look, great passing play from Outlast. Good pressure from Rothy as well. Goes for the wave dash, and now Outlast again is in the play. Daesu recognizing he has the time. Good patience from him. But a great clear from Justice Esports. And look at that, Cooking with Outlast, they're in the positions they need to be to keep clearing these balls.
They're playing so far back, they're just waiting for Justice Esports to hit the ball as hard as they can. The first pass play does come out for Justice Esports, but Cooking with Outlast are so far back and they're just sitting on this lead.
So you're saying with their positioning that they're so far back, does this mean that maybe Justice should be focusing on, say, more individual plays, like going for a dribble flick, possibly?
A few more individual plays, slower plays, and just looking for those passes more in the midfield. They're doing the 1-2, but never the 1-2-1 or the 1-2-3.
And we see here with a minute 30 left to go, Cooking with Outlast are 1 up. That's a great doink from him. Yeezy is ready and waiting in the defense, though. Good positioning from him, but again, he's now outplayed 1-2 players, goes for the challenge. Great 50-50, and look, Outlast is there, but seems as though Cooking with Outlast are feeling the pressure from Justice.
Rothy and Outlast played the defense perfectly as well. They've just got behind the other, then challenged, had each other's back, and even if the 50 doesn't work out, it gets to the other end, and Daesu secures goal number 2.
And it seems as though Daesu and his pressure has stopped Justice Esports and their hopes of coming back in this game. With only a minute left to go, and with the way that this whole entire match and last match has played out, Cooking with Outlast are in a great position to be moving forward.
They've been really good at holding on to this lead. I mean, that one sort of just broke because they had the lead, and it's really frustrating for Justice Esports, who don't like being in defense. They want to always be in attack.
Well, we saw as well, there was actually 2 players in net from Justice, and still that ball went straight in. Whether or not it was a communication issue or the individual skill quite wasn't there in the defense from them is yet to be seen. Now, with 45 seconds to go, Cooking with Outlast, they're keeping this pressure on. They realize that they don't need to sit back. They can be highly aggressive because with 30 seconds, it seems as though Steve needs to go for that solo play. He actually misses it, unfortunately, but a good pressure from Cooking with Outlast. He gets the demo. With 30 seconds to go, this match is very, very tight still. And he's up for the ball, but Whis with a whiff, unfortunately. Can he get back in time? Yeezy with some great defense, individual skill from him.
Yeah, Whis has been a rough game for him as well. He hasn't quite got the touches, and just luckily, Justice Esports holding on, but 10 seconds to go. This is going to be game 2 from Cooking with Outlast in what I thought was a 50-50 matchup. Has suddenly gone the other direction, and it's the 3rd goal. No! The clock ticks down to 0, and Outlast, Cooking with Outlast, I should say. It's a little bit frustrating that there's Outlast, Cooking with Outlast. They are now 1 step away from that qualifying match.
Well, as we see here on the scorecards itself, that's actually 5 to 7 shots. So Justice Esports, they had the right intentions, but it seems as though the execution was flawed.
Yeah, the passes in the midfield, they were coming, often passing to Whis, or Steve to Whis usually, in that sort of back to midfield, and then they would take the shot. And there was someone standing back. There was somebody waiting for that shot, usually Rothy, to make the freest save of their life. There needs to be an extra play there. It needs to be either Whis taking it and dribbling, or Whis passing it back. But that takes a lot of willpower. It gets past his nerves a lot to actually make the play instead of just shooting and being like, we need the goal, we need the goal, we need to catch up. And that's how it really gets into this rookie's head.
I think this is definitely the definition between a team who has obviously ironed out a lot of those kinks that we've seen from the OCE shuffle, because in all honesty, a lot of these teams, they haven't been around very long, so they haven't exactly had the time to kind of force those plays and make the correct choices in offense or defense and in this sort of an environment.
For me, I think this is the pinnacle of experience versus new, in that they're both teams that could beat each other on any given day. If this was just a weekly tournament, a community level tournament, you know, you'd definitely see a lot closer game. But the way it's going, Outlast and the team there are just so comfortable, so confident. They're willing to rotate around each other, and there's no real panic coming in such a high stakes match.
And Cooking with Outlast quietly confident here, 2 games up. Justice Esports need to change up their offense in order to get anywhere near a win in this match or even in this game.
It is very close so far. We don't want to see the first goal to Cooking with Outlast. That is the death knell for Justice. If that happens, this is the opportunity, but no one there to finish it off.
Now Wisp passes into center. Yeezy is right there and waiting. Outlast didn't even see him with the camera angle that he had. And now Daesu pushes it off to the side. Wisp passed into center. Outlast with a good play, but it's sitting in defense. Can Justice take advantage of it? They can't. Wisp waiting in the back lines, and a great shot from Outlast. The retaliation goal might have happened.
No counterattack either for Justice Esports, and got to start looking at those defensive passes to get it out because they're stuck there once again. And we are seeing Daesu look to try and push that straight back. Yeezy over to Wisp. He misses. It just goes high, and that was the opportunity of a lifetime.
It is heartbreaking to see those opportunities missed, but now it seems as though Cooking with Outlast, with the retaliation, they're there. Outlast is waiting. Yeezy now has ball control. Good challenge from Outlast. Pushed into center. Rothy, can he do anything with this ball? It seems as though the sporadic nature of their play is working out for them. Justice Esports on the defense not being what they want it to be. Not perfect.
And even then, you see Cooking with Outlast, they're not setting up for that pass play and attack. They're holding back, knowing that pressure is going to cause a mistake in the defense and open up the net eventually.
We spoke about it before, their positioning being so far back and waiting for those kind of passes, I guess you could even call them, from Justice Esports, where they can just catch it and play their own game. It's working out so well for them. And now with 3 minutes to go, it seems as though the 11th hour is here. Steve, he's always hitting this backboard, but he's not in position for the double touch. Outlast, now he's ready for the solo. Look at the patience, what a play. He doesn't get the flick, he tried it. I liked it. I liked the intention, but just not the execution.
Normally score that 9 times out of 10. So good with those little pops, but this time the ball just gets away from it.
I was speaking about it earlier, but the positioning from Cooking with Outlast is really in a spot that I like. His two teammates were waiting beside him just in case he either got challenged away or whether he was able to even pass it and flick it onto the backboard.
Even that play from Daesu just shows how confident they are right now. He played it back. A lot of other people would be like, oh, that's a risky play, but he knows, he's confident, and he's built his team so much time to get the counterattack. It's just open. Outlast scores the goal.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate play from Yeezy. You could see what he wanted to do. He wanted to bounce it onto the wall, Rothy to not get the touch and kind of whiff past it.
That's almost incredibly unfortunate. Rothy did not mean to get that touch. And that is heartbreaking. Justice Esports behind once again.
And now we've seen Team RNG versus Team Individual Skill. And it seems as though RNG is not in Justice Esports' favor today. Rothy now passing it back into center. Outlast is ready and waiting. Good pressure from Steve though. But it's going straight up into center. Look, he's ready. He's already up and waiting for it. Rothy, he goes for the touch. This could be a close goal from Justice Esports. Is this their chance to get back into the game? It just might be. Steve, he's waiting for Outlast touch. He's right there. He gets the pinch off the wall. Not what he wanted to do. Daesu now to Outlast. Back to Daesu. Seems as though Wiss is waiting, but no. Justice Esports not in a good spot. Steve, he's there. He has enough boost for it. This is too tight in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Steve had that opportunity. He was ready. He got the pass into center, but both of Justice Esports teammates, Wiss and Yeezy, had fled to their own defense when they still had the chance to attack.
With 1:30 to go,
Steve.
Justice Steve. Oh, what a shot from them! Wiss with the double touch. It was a double touch off the opposing player. With 1:30 left, he's done it. This is 1-1. So close to getting into a game 4.
This is what you mean by Team RNG. He gets in the way. He misses the shot, but he finds the spot that gets the perfect dunk. And that could be the turnaround point. They've tied up the game.
Justice Esports need to realize that the game is not over yet. They have to make another interesting play in order to get anywhere near the next match. But a great play from Yeezy. He's got the solo. He tries to go for the flick. He rushes it. You can see they're feeling the pressure here, Yummy. They're feeling it because one game away from Cooking with Outlast going into the next step.
They are so close, but Justice Esports, they're starting their story. They're starting their reverse sweep right here, 50 seconds, and this is when the nerves really pile up. They need to hold on to their hearts as long as possible.
Now Rothy, he has ball control here, but Wiss is up for it. Good pressure from him. Steve, he's ready for this ball. Good play. Very fast, very aggressive. It's what they need to be doing. Outlast now attempts to go for the solo, but it goes straight off the wall. Now Rothy with a boomer to the backboard. This is very bad for Justice Esports, but a great clear from Steve puts them out of pressure.
They're so close now to being scored on. It's all down to Wiss, and the mistake happens. It doesn't get punished, but Outlast does keep that in attack. 15 seconds left on the clock. There is one last opportunity for both of these teams to take the game.
One last shot. Can he do it? Whis gets a whiff, unfortunately. It seems to be working out. Can Team RNG do this with 3 seconds to go? Daesu now passed into center. Whis was ready and waiting. This is overtime. It cannot get closer than this.
This is overtime, and for everything on the line for Justice Esports, their last chance to stay in the upper bracket and to realize their dreams of OCE League play. It's in a good spot, but Outlast, what a read.
You could see a great flick from Whis. His controller problems seem to be all but wrapped up. Now Outlast pushed into center. That could be a shot. No, it goes onto the backboard. Yeezy goes for the control, gets dunked by Rothy. You can see the individual skill coming out from Cooking with Outlast. They're making sure these pressure plays are going. This could be the goal that he needs. That's straight in, but Rothy with the good rotation. Now 30 seconds into overtime, you can see Justice Esports have stepped it up from the rest of the series.
It's getting so close, and Justice Esports, they're getting more from this opportunity because it's overtime. So even though they are just taking a lot of shots, Cooking with Outlast aren't quite ready to play the defense.
Now, it seems as though Cooking with Outlast are on the back foot here. Great pass into center. Could this be it? Steve with the goal. A minute into overtime, Justice Esports are back in this match.
They've taken the lead. They've taken the game. And this was a beautiful pass play. Yeezy over to Steve. The 1-2 combo finally pays off because they played it so much closer to the net than they were previously.
I think for them, it was a lot of confidence coming back. They recognized that Whis now has the skill and also the controller in order to make those plays that they needed that they have the room.
We saw a lot of misses from Whis this game. We saw a lot of issues. And that one was between Yeezy and Steve. And I think they're pushing Whis back, letting him play the defense, play some of the easier touches that you get when you're sort of counter-clearing. And that gives Yeezy and Steve a lot more confidence to play that 1-2 in attack.
Yeah, so personally, that's what I was trying to say, is I'm trying to say that Whis was more active than, say, the first game, where it gave them the confidence to make those, 1-2 plays that they could bounce off each other.
We'll see how that goes into the next game. And finally, we've got ourselves a series. Justice Esports have taken it, but it did take a bit of luck. They managed to get that one goal off Whis. That was a bit of an unfortunate clear, but you have to be in the defense a little bit more calm-minded, see where that defensive player is going to land and avoid hitting it at them.
See, it felt so frustrating if I was on Cooking with Outlast in that sort of a play, because I think there was even 3 players in net there, and they were all ready and waiting for it, but because the touch went straight off Whis, then straight back into him and into the net.
But that's a problem in itself, right? You shouldn't have 3 people sitting in net. Somebody needs to be up there affecting the play from the start, and they had Steve going for the double. They had Whis going up for it as well. If somebody had just been there in the way in the first place, they would have had much more chances to defend it. And now it is 1 game to Justice Esports. Cooking with Outlast still feeling good about staying in the upper bracket, but they have to have a little bit of pressure on them as Justice Esports starting the comeback.
And now good pass back into Rothy. Great shot from him. 4 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock, and it seems as though both of these teams are just sorting each other out from the previous games, just because each individual game has been so different with its pacing and its speed.
It has been very different. We're seeing Justice Esports really pick up the pace, and Steve, he had a bit of an open net chance there. Didn't quite take it and ends up going high.
I feel as though Cooking with Outlast are they feel a lot stronger and faster in defense. So a lot of the time as well, they're getting those clears, they're pushing the ball out from where it originally is so that Justice Esports don't get those opportunities or the time to make those opportunities. Now, with Daesu pushed away, Rothy, he goes for the touch. 3 men from Cooking with Outlast. A bit awkward here. It's sitting just above the net. What is going on from them? Yeezy has a free shot.
Oh.
No! An unfortunate block. Justice Esports probably thought they had that one in the bag.
Yeah, it was definitely close, but Daesu just getting in the way in time. But that is Whis, and Whis is the one to step up.
Wow, it seems as though Justice Esports are back in style. They say, hey, we took down game 1, we fell down again in game 2. We are back in this match. This is our series. We're going to take this to game 5.
Such a clever pass from Steve as well. Off the top corner, you'd expect him to hit it down and backwards, but no, he goes up and over, and that is the first goal for Justice Esports, the first time that they've been in the lead.
Now Whis, he goes for the play, passes it off to the side. Outlast, good pressure from him. Steve, again, very active in the play. Rothy, he goes for the free shot. Yeezy is there, ready to defend. Seems as though Steve, without any boost, is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, doesn't know where to be. And now a great clear from Justice Esports. That's what they need to relieve that pressure, consolidate their boost, make sure that they're in the position. Look, Yeezy recognizing Steve's there. Great commitment and great communication from them. Seems as though Cooking with Outlast are on the back foot in this game.
Yeah, very close to getting scored on once again, but Outlast plays it patient. He was ready on the backboard, and he is being a bit of a pain when he is up there. Justice Esports unable to get that backboard play.
You always want to be a thorn in your opponent's side, and a great flick from Steve, but Outlast, again as we were saying before, very, very far back, allowing him the time and the speed in order to actually get those clears. Now Wiss trying to misinform his opponents by being in their half and forcing out those mistakes. Good play from Steve, he's very aggressive, and it's working out for Justice Esports. Now Rothy, he tries to go for the clear. Wiss again is there, but it's a whiff unfortunately from him. Rothy, great little 1-2 play. Is it a 1-2-3? It is. Steve intercepted the play right there and was able to stop his opposition from getting anywhere near a shot. But now the retaliation, and Wiss, he does it. He makes sure that his team is 2-0 up in this fourth game.
Steve has really picked up the pace as well. He's been a pain in offense. He's getting the ball around them. And just then, he took it in defense, he shut down the opponent's play, and immediately started the counterattack.
I really like that play from him. He intercepted, he got the pass, he's active in his team environment, which is what you need to be in this sort of a level, especially when it is do or die once you get into that lower bracket.
It's that moment as well that Steve can go full carry mode. He can be like, okay, we need to just go. I'm going to try and hit the ball as much as possible, trying to get my opponents out of the game, and he just does it once again using that 50-50.
Now Wiss, he passes it into center. Cooking with Outlast, not feeling too confident in this game. Seems as though a demo play might be what they need. Cooking with Outlast, it's on the backboard, but there's no pressure from them. Yeezy was able to get the time in order to be there, and oh no! It seems as though Rothy went for the challenge, and it just pinched off both of them straight into the corner.
That was a challenge he needed to go for. He knew that Daesu wasn't back, and Yeezy had the shot. It's an unfortunate situation, but you make those risks, and now they pay for it 3-0 to Justice Esports.
You have to compliment Yeezy on that play, though. He recognized that he could get there in time, and there was no one challenging him, so he took the free shot, and it worked out 3-0. So different from what we saw from Game 1. And here we go. Now Rothy clearing it out, goes straight into the top. That's called an NA clear where we come from. Outlast goes for the play. Wiss is actually back far enough, ready to receive it. Challenge into center. Rothy's there. Great fake from him. He's gone for the one solo play. We were speaking of their individual skill before, and it's working out for him. Now passed it back to Outlast. Daesu waiting in the center. A whiff from Wiss. No, sorry, that was Steve. Now Yeezy, he has control of the ball, pushes it into center. The 1-2 play. We've seen it before. We've seen it again. Now Steve goes for the demo. Can it work out? It seems the backboard. It's an open net. Yeezy goes for it. Justice Esports are running away with this game.
They're winning at the top of the pitch. These passes are coming out from high down to low. This time not off the roof, but just straight down. And they've opened up the net again. Cooking with Outlast starting to feel like they're boiling themselves.
I feel as though the confidence meter has gone from the side of Cooking with Outlast all the way over to Justice Esports. 4-0 with a minute remaining. This game is all but wrapped up, and it seems as though for the first match of the entire day, we have a Game 5.
Exactly, and that is the true pressure cooker when it comes to these two teams. Game 5, your life on the line, and it is 40 seconds away before we head there. Can Cooking with Outlast get a goal back?
Now Wiss into center, challenged away. Double whiff from both teams here. Wiss again is waiting. Now it's off to Rothy. Can he do anything with this ball? He gets a boomer, but Yeezy is up and ready. Look at this communication, and they've really stepped it up from the first two games. Yeezy and Steve have been passing it between each other again and again, and we see that it's worked out so well for them.
Yeah, so much more confidence coming out from Justice Esports. They've found themselves in a situation where they're down. It's the one chance where you're like, okay, boys, we've already almost lost. Let's just bring it back. Let's just do the best we can. And they have certainly done just that. Yeezy might finish with one more, but that is 4-0 in game number 4. A dominant victory, completely turning around the series. And all of a sudden, Justice Esports are in the spot where it looks like they're going to make it.
Well, I think we know someone who said one time that momentum is a lie, but I believe that in this series, Justice Esports have the momentum and they have the skills and ability to punish Cooking with Outlast for their positioning.
All they need to do is hold on to the strategy that they're using right now. They're finding the ball up the pitch. They're moving it forward. They're getting solid 50s, and then they make the play in their opponent's quarter of the pitch instead of making it in their back half and then backing off. Their aggressive play is what's going to win them the game.
What I really want to comment on, though, is that how we saw in Game 1 and 2, where Outlast would pass it into center, literally a lateral move straight over to Daesu, who would then take a shot. And now we're seeing that Steve and Yeezy are doing the exact same thing. And Cooking with Outlast, at least from what I see, they haven't developed a strategy to change that or even interrupt that sort of a play.
They don't have the time, right? Steve has really picked up the pace. Yeezy and Whis are moving forward a lot more. They're not running all the way back. So now all of a sudden, they don't have the time to pass or feel like they have the time to pass. And that's really getting into their heads and shutting down their chances of making these big 1-2 plays.
See, you do not feel confident if you go into the lower bracket from here because there's only one spot available from there. And you're playing against all these other teams who are hungry as ever in order to get to that spot. Getting straight into, the next match and, Justice Esports with their individual skill and how they're playing against Cooking with Outlast, whether or not it'll stack up to the rest of the competition. What do you think?
We're heading into the final game of this match. The tiebreaker, the do-or-die best of 5, has turned into a best of 1. And if you can get through that, you can safely go into the next match and be a lot calmer. It's not going to compare to this Game 5. And I'd hate to be in these players' shoes. I'm nervous enough as a player in ranked, let alone coming through and trying to keep your tournament hopes alive. Because as you said, if you go into the lower bracket, there are so many good teams. Even those first round teams that get knocked out lower or in the other parts of the bracket are really good and can potentially knock you out. So you have to stay in the upper bracket as long as you can. Give yourself the best chance possible. And one of these two teams who I pegged as like one of the two maybe making it into the top 8, one of them is going to go down.
Well, I said earlier, I honestly thought that Cooking with Outlast would be able to take it because we saw Game 1 and 2, such a dominant force from them. But Justice Esports have completely flipped the coin. The entire pacing of the match now seems as though all the pressure is coming from Justice Esports.
Yeah, they really picked up the pace. It's no longer experience versus inexperience. That doesn't matter anymore because now it's pure speed against control. But speed is just winning right now because they're taking out any opportunities for Cooking with Outlast to make plays.
And it seems like both of these teams recognize that it is now, as you said before, turned into a best of 1. So they need to make sure that they're in the right spot. I feel like the nerves would be a big impacting factor on this final match.
Well, the brawl is almost over. We are heading back into game number 5, a scrappy series. Fighting it out tooth and nail down to Game 5 to get into that qualifying match and try and make it into the OCE Championship.
And both teams trying to fly out of the gate here. Yeezy goes for the play. Outlast, again, as we saw before, he's waiting in the back lines, but whether or not it's too far back, we'll find out. Now, Whis, he has control of this one. Look at this double commit from Cooking with Outlast, whether that's a communication error or indeed just impatience from both of these players. Daesu now waiting in the back lines. Great challenge from Yeezy, actually. Steve, can he get a second touch? He does. It's sitting over net. There's no player there. What a shot. Whis, Justice Esports, they're doing it.
So much confidence from Whis. There were 2 players in the net, but he said, I can get there first. He beat out Roffy, found the angle, and once again, Justice Esports in their favorite spot, the lead.
It just goes to show if you have a controller, apparently you can play the game very, very well. 30 seconds into this match, and it seems as though Justice Esports are well ahead, but it is not over until that clock hits 0 or it goes straight into overtime. Cooking with Outlast now. Rothy goes for the challenge. It is so fast from Steve. He is too fast for his opposition. And now Rothy, he's trying to make sure that he can keep this play in his team aggressive half, and it seems as though Daesu needs to do something with this ball, but unfortunately it's a pass straight off to Steve.
And you can really see the difference. Justice Esports are getting that high defense going. They're preventing the passes from coming out off the roof, and that has been the difference between these two teams. Whis just finds that there's an open net past Outlast.
We even saw Daesu just kind of sitting under the ball, expecting his opponent not to actually get that one, and whether or not that's a bit of disrespect or just a bit of an outplay from the side of Justice Esports, 2-0. They are looking confident as ever.
I have been talking about Whis and his mistakes all series long, but when you come through in the most important game of the series and just take 2 goals off your opposition, you have to say he's on fire.
Now Cooking with Outlast, they want to make these aggressive plays. They have to get back into this match to make sure that they stick in this upper bracket. Outlast went for it, but Steve gets the touch back to his teammate. Now Whis into center. What a great passing play. That took 3 of their members straight into it, and Cooking with Outlast were nowhere to be found. Now Rothy cleared it away. Daisu, he goes for this aggressive touch. He gets it. Yeetzy is waiting in the lines. Whis is up. He backflips. No, Steve waiting on the back lines, but a great play from Cooking with Outlast. This could be the turnaround. No, it's not. Yeetzy in a great position. Oh, what a dunk from him! 3-0. Justice Esports are well ahead in this match.
You see Justice Esports getting this every time. They're so good at dunking. They read where you want to touch it, and Yeetzy finds goal number 3. We're only 2 minutes in.
Justice Esports will definitely be quietly confident now with 3 minutes left and already a 3-goal lead. It seems as though this might be the biggest game of the entire series in terms of score differential.
And that was Daisu. I think that was a big proving point right there. The fact that he just went for what was not ever going to be a great shot off the kickoff. They're trying to score the goals. When you're in this situation, when you're so far behind, it can really mess with your strategy and take you completely out of the game. There's so many shots coming in now from Justice Esports. The pressure is on for Cooking with Outlast. And they don't feel like they're going to hold on much longer.
You can tell the Cooking with Outlast are nervous as they need to make something happen, but it seems as though Justice Esports, with Steve kind of interfering with his opposition, they're getting where they need to be and they're making those shots. Look at this boomer from Yeetzy. No one's in net. Justice Esports have full control of this match.
There were 2 people in net. Daisu had passed that into center, but both of the Cooking with Outlast players had moved forward thinking that that was going to be a great pass and that they were on the attack. And then all of a sudden it gets over the top of them.
Well, it's heartbreaking from Cooking with Outlast, getting reverse swept at least from over half the game already done, and a 4-0 lead. I have to say it, Justice Esports really stepped up in these last 3 games.
They've really done it. They're 4-0 now. They lost the first 2 games. It was dominant almost from Cooking with Outlast, and it's been completely turned around. Justice Esports finding their stride and putting their name in the hat to make it into the OCE Championship.
I definitely want to compliment Justice Esports and their composure for these matches. They seem to have changed from a very kind of hasty feeling side in order to change to this amazingly confident, almost super-esque like Superman style, at least in this match.
We have to remember, there's 2 15-year-olds on this team. Both Whis and Steve, brand new players. They've never gone into the OCE Championship qualifiers before, and now they're bringing it back. 1 goal for Cooking with Outlast puts them back in contention, though.
See, it does put them back in contention, but I don't think it's enough. I feel like it's too little too late, because this, for them, that took them a whole minute, right? So if they took the same amount of time in order to score another 3 goals, they're not going to make it.
They have a chance to get this off the kickoff, and they've committed too hard. Outlast looking to move this one forward. 1.5 minutes for Cooking with Outlast to stay in the upper bracket.
Now Steve pushes it to center. Outlast is ready and waiting. Good pressure from Cooking with Outlast. Rothy cleared off to the side. Pinched away actually from Justice Esports. Seems as though they might have a shot opportunity, but Whis is right there. Goes with a solo play. Gets a great flick. Pop up, but a good defense from Outlast. Keeps the pressure away from them. Definitely feeling nervous. And it seems as though here, with a minute remaining, Justice Esports have ran away with this entire series. And what a shot from Whis. Yeetzy's there as well. Can Steve be up for it? The 3-man play, it's just going off the backboard. Whether or not they need to score, they just have to make these aggressive plays to keep Cooking with Outlast in their little hidey hole, make sure that they do not get an opportunity in offense.
They burnt so much time getting the ball behind them, and even now they still haven't got the play. Outlast finally doing it with the dunk. But the defense has been just so fast. They're just getting up to the ball and blocking it, preventing the shot coming out. 30 seconds left for Cooking with Outlast to stay in the upper bracket. I think Justice Esports have done it. They've made the reverse sweep. They've taken their dream and took it to the next level, playing for that $50,000 US.
Wow, Justice Esports, a big congratulations to them. This is all but wrapped up here. They have done an incredible job of keeping their composure and making sure that they have kept this aggressive playstyle, which worked out so well for them. A big congrats to them.
There was a lot of bumps earlier as well from Cooking with Outlast, and they couldn't do it anymore. They couldn't disrupt that gameplay. Justice Esports were too too fast. They've got into the qualifying match. They're in a great spot to make it now to league play. And unfortunately for Cooking with Outlast, they have a really tough lower bracket run.
Well, they've gone straight into the lower bracket, and it seems as though that basically the safety net is completely gone from them. They have no second chance now. It is do or die for them with only one spot remaining in that lower bracket, Courier.
And that's a hard place to be coming from. Going into this tournament, playing so well in those first 2 games and dominating your opponent, then having it taken from you and then pushed down into the lowers after your confidence is crushed, that's not really setting a precedence for them they want to follow.
I really love the story of Whis as well throughout that game. The 15-year-old, he just qualified, he just got old enough to play in the qualifiers. It's his first qualifier. He was very nervous. You could tell. It wasn't just controller issues. He was staying really far back. But by that last game, he looked like their best player.
I think his story mirrors the whole arc of their playstyle, right? In the beginning, they were a bit shaky. They didn't come up and contest as quickly as they could. We know they had the potential to be fast, which we saw later in the match. And then we saw the slow inversion. It was like a huge sweep one way, and then it gets a little bit closer, it starts to go the other way, and they just run with it.
Well, Steve as well, I think he was really based off the confidence of Whisk, as he saw him speeding up, and then it just became too much for Rothy, Desu to keep up with. Outlast wasn't getting the 50s he was getting earlier, and it just ran away from them.
Well, a big congratulations to Justice Esports. They have played fantastically, and we will definitely be seeing more than them. But right now, we're going to head to a short little break. We will see you soon enough.